All right, and with that, we're on to our final set. We've got a diamond match.
Ooh, scary slash awful
Yeah.
slash don't watch. Look away. This is
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart. Hashtag abolish diamond. Every diamond match is a crime against humanity, as far as I'm concerned.
Hashtag add more people to Diamond and force
Yep.
Warring Track to play all his games for the
All
rest
right.
of his life.
Yep. All right. And anyway, with this match, Magician
Yeah.
is, I mean, Magician's guaranteed to be bottom two. There's nothing he can do. But KCM is right in the middle. So he really need if he loses this, and he would also have a chance to be in bottom two. I think winning this, I think it guarantees him not being in the bottom two
If he
if the
gets
match
even
works
a
out.
point, if he
Yeah.
gets a point in this match, he avoids the hazard. Guarantee that it'll be Bloom against Magician. Magician's been locked into it for a couple
Actually,
weeks now.
I think 1 point might not have
No,
been
no, it
enough
does
because
because of the tiebreakers. He has a tiebreaker against Bloom. He defeated him both times, and then after
because
that, it's
Bloom still has one more match though. What I can see.
yes, no, I know. Yes, when this match took place, it was literally 1 point would still be enough.
Are you sure?
Oh,
Because
don't worry. I have been obsessed with this for weeks because I've been one of the people on the bubble of the hazard match. Yes, 1 point does it for KCM.
Yeah, so at this point, both Bloom and KCM are tied on 8 points. Magician, I think, has 0 points, if I'm correct.
okay, yeah,
And so, due to the fact that KCM won his week 9 match
yeah, okay.
against
That's
Bloom,
the one.
and
That's what did it. Yeah.
All right.
and and
So
also
anyway, yeah. So yeah, one.
Right.
So we need a single point.
It's a single point against someone who doesn't have a single point yet, but you get that kind of cornered animal thing going. This is something I was worried about in my match against Magician in week 9. He was 0-8 coming into that, and I was just worried that the wounded animal, cornered, vicious, could throw anything against the wall, right, to see what sticks. Totally unpredictable, potentially totally dangerous. And obviously, he's in Diamond. He's a very skilled player, right? So, score notwithstanding, you can't sleep on him. He went 0-9-1 last year. He did get 1 point last year. I think it was in week 3. So Magician trying to just hang on, going to be in a hazard match either way. But you look at Diamond and you see this ridiculous pile up where the difference between second, which is the finals, the championship, I might remind you, and a hazard match could be as few as 2 points. It's really silly. We knew a few weeks ago that either myself, KCM, or Bloom were going to be in this hazard match, which, at least in their cases, definitely doesn't sound right at all. The idea of KCM or Bloom in a hazard match sounds positively silly, but
Yep.
Diamond is positively silly. There's such a pile up in the middle of that division. The diamonds per square foot is like a jewelry store.
Yep.
It's way too crammed together.
Yeah, and I mean, even you still have a chance at being top two, which is nuts because it's like
Well,
you're
it's
like
not too
in the
nuts. I mean,
like.
yeah, no, it
I
is
just
nuts.
mean the fact that you were like you're one away
Yes.
from being bottom two and one away from being top
Yes.
two.
You're absolutely right. I went into my match with Magician last week simultaneously fending off a hazard match and keeping a finals match alive in the same match in week 9. That's silly. That's not supposed to happen, but it has.
That's diamond. All right.
That's Diamond. That's
Anyway,
Diamond. That's why I hate
let's
it.
let's look at pick some bands here.
Yes, please.
The first band coming out of Magician is Veranda.
So he has banned 2 maps all year, Veranda or Balcony, based on opponent entirely. That's the only difference. Yeah,
Reasonable.
yeah, those are the only 2 maps he bans. No exceptions.
Right? And then
so it's interesting, however, though, against KCM, he decides, knowing that KCM will pick Balcony,
Right.
that
Yes.
Veranda is the one he doesn't want to play KCM on.
Right. So I actually like this choice kind of from Magician. He has to pick one of those 2, right? Just like you just mentioned. And if he bans, Balcony, Veranda may or may not get picked. If he bans Veranda, Balcony will get picked. But generally speaking, no offense to Magician, he's probably thinking of himself as an underdog here. And if you're an underdog, you want that variance, the variance that Balcony gives you. So you don't love your choice either way, but you're probably actually okay with KCM picking Balcony here.
All right. Anyway, and the band from KCM, High Rise.
I don't think there's really anything to this. Magician has not picked High Rise all year. I think KCM at that point is just kind of indifferent, and
He's just picking a map he doesn't care about.
Yeah, it's close to a no ban. It's
Yep.
just fine. I guess.
He doesn't have the heart to do a real no ban.
No, yeah. I don't think there's really no danger there of Magician picking this.
Yep. All right. Anyway, the first pick out of Magician, you'll be seeing a more gallery. Yay!
So this is really interesting. He picked Gallery against me in week 1 as his second map. Did not pick it again until our second matchup where he doubled it. So he's been picking Ballroom and Courtyard basically all year. But this is 2 weeks in a row he's doubled Gallery.
it feels like Magician's potentially looked at his season performance and gone, actually, I think I did better and got more, stronger wins or more sniper wins or more spy wins when I was picking this map rather than Courtyard and Ballroom.
Well, that's the crucial distinction. The crucial distinction is what map feels good and what map am I actually good on? Because sometimes they're not the same thing.
Yep, that's true. That's actually the reason I don't pick Courtyard, even though it's my
There it
favorite
is.
map. It's
Yeah.
not it's my favorite map, but I noticed in the past seasons that I wasn't really doing particularly well on it, so I just was like, oh,
Yep.
I won't.
It's about the difference. It's
Yeah.
about the space between you and your opponent. Everyone feels comfortable on Courtyard, right? Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, I mean, I'm still fine with other people picking. I don't ban it.
He's putting that out there, Platinum Challengers. He's fine with you picking it. Go
Yep.
right ahead.
I mean, I seem to do well on it, and I seem to have been doing well on it in Platinum this season.
There you go.
I'm fine
Why
with it.
change it?
Anyway, all right. So the pick from KCM, no surprise to anyone here, Balcony.
Yep, there it is. I'm sure Magician knew it was going to happen, and I think it's an okay. I think it's an okay thing to let happen, even though KCM wants it.
Right, and then the second pick from Magician is Library.
Well,
basically copied your draft here from week 9.
Yes, he picked Gallery and Library against me too. And what's interesting is again that he only picked Gallery once before that all year and did not pick Library at all. So clearly, kind of a late game switch up strategy wise from Magician.
All right, and a really interesting last pick from KCM, Modern. Interesting
not as
because
interesting
it's not
as I
Courtyard.
would. Yeah, so I guess it's interesting because there is no Courtyard. But when
Yeah.
you think about KCM, what maps he's strong at,
Yeah, it makes sense.
it's maps like Gallery, it's maps like Modern, where pacing is the name of the game, and then also just hiding actions all across the board. KCM is probably one of the best Modern spies I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is interesting, not just that we don't have Courtyard in general, because that's just generally something in any given match, but Magician picked Courtyard in every week except week 9 because I banned it. So this is the first time he's had an opportunity to pick Courtyard and didn't do it.
Yep.
All right, and with that, we're ready to go with the match. Got KCM on Spy as Red Dress. And he is fairly close to the bookshelf, as well as the Ambassador. Let's see if either of those get rushed.
Oh.
3, 2, 1, planet.
Gandalf, is it left or right? Which way is he going to go?
I mean, the AI took us there. We have to go. It's no choice. Oh, and we're going straight over to our Ambassador. Oh, look at the cover on the sniper side. There's just everyone on the right-hand side of the screen. It's disgusting.
No. Doesn't even matter.
KCM's going to get rid of this book, get himself a mission, go for the bug. You can, because there's just everyone's there. I think the bug may have been seen on the sniper cam, but it doesn't matter because Magician hasn't shot, and now we're into our flirt at green for 43%.
We are 30 seconds into this game, ladies and gentlemen. You're not reading that clock wrong. No time ads. This has actually happened. 2.5 missions done in 30 seconds.
I mean, I praised KCM for his ability to pace himself as a spy, but this is Zoomies right here.
Yeah, so the question is he going to keep it up? Is he just going to rush? Or is he going to dial it back, get that flirt done, and pick his spot? Because you have an opportunity here to do one of two things. Silent game or statueless game. And that is a very big, actually very hard decision, potentially.
Let's have a look. He can do both of those things.
He could do both of those things.
I
don't know if I recommend it or not, especially since the Ambassador just touched that statue, so you might have to pick one or the other. But you could do a 1 statue visit game. That might be enough.
Let's see what Mr. KCM decides to do. Very much knows the position in the game that he's at, knows it's a strong one. And you wouldn't expect KCM to do something that's unnecessary as spy, so I'm looking forward to it. Looks like we're going to start up our inspects here. And I believe this is a statue that doesn't have a fingerprint on it, so maybe we go for the jugular right now. Statue to statue, pick up a fingerprint, and look for that second fingerprint later on.
Yeah, perhaps. But the fact that he didn't go to that statue makes me think he's not paying attention to fingerprint because he doesn't want it done, or specifically trying to avoid the suspicion of getting a fingerprint.
This will be our last flirt, up to 100%, a minute and 30 seconds to decide how we want to finish. And inspect could just be the way to do it.
It would be a silent shot, but Magician has taken those. If anything, I would say he takes them a little too often. There have been some aggressive shots before Banana Bread has gone off. I had one of them in Courtyard, actually.
Here we go.
He shot me as Duke in week 1 with no Banana Bread.
Inspect comes through. The second one started up. And there's the mission win countdown. This is when you have to take the shot if you suspect it. And oh my gosh, Magician does it. What a god he is.
It could be. I mean, it could be. I know. I think I'm behind KCM, and this person has gone to statues twice, and the second time was about a minute. I would like to think that he at least suspected the bug. But it's so hard to say. Boy, we saw all that get done in the first 30 seconds. Would you have really imagined this was going to end in a silent game and a shot on the spy?
Yeah, that was a very good shot. My one sort of, the thing that was sort of suspicious about KCN's play, and it really wasn't his fault entirely, is that the seduction target was just in that spot the whole time, so he had to sort of leave and come back to the same spot.
Yeah,
and then he went fairly soon afterwards to get a statue.
It's incredible to consider that Magician hasn't been able to win or draw a game yet in Diamond. I mean, back in Season 2, he was a finalist up against Crazy Kaylee. Diamond's skill level clearly has just increased since then, and even though he's one of the best players in the game, hasn't been able to find points this season. But when you make shots like that, it just reaffirms to yourself and to the rest of the world that you're pretty damn good at SpyParty.
Yeah. You got to be pretty damn good at SpyParty to be in Diamond, even if you're on the bottom, which is what I say to myself from last season.
Well, Kletos was in the Hazard match with him last year. Magician went 0-9-1 last year and had to hang on through both the initial Hazard match and the promotion match, and did. I think both matches were close, if I remember.
Yeah. I think I had a pretty good early lead, and then he just sort of stomped all over me in the second half of the set. And
Slappy very narrowly missed being in Diamond this year as well. So Magician has definitely been able to come through when it matters, certainly in these Hazard matches. And right there with that shot.
Yeah, we'll see. So he does, oh wow, he is really close to these bookshelves, but he does have a drink, so the cheese is limited, unfortunately. So we'll have to see what he does with this in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Cheese does not go with the drink.
Nope.
Does not pair well with that wine.
Poor Magician. That's the worst feeling when you spawn onto gallery by the bookshelves and you have a drink in hand, because you just know that one of your best opportunities to sneak a hardtail is gone just due to circumstances out of your control.
Yeah, it really feels like Magician pulled that one back from the brink. It might have been high-level skill. It also might have been, a little aggression late. We'll never really know. We'll have to ask him maybe afterwards. But whatever it was, he's in a position to take a commanding lead against a great player.
I mean, one thing that I will say is that bug, although it looked good from the sniper cam, was 100% seen on the sniper cam. So it's very possible that Magician was just holding his shot and never highlighting for the bug itself. Really just
we say that on the cast every week. So the highlights don't tell you that much. If you are very, very someone, if you're tunneling on them, you don't have to highlight them.
Yeah, very true. Pick up 2 inspects here, and we've got one part of a seduce done up to 34%. Joining the conversation with the double agent at the forward conversation here, and I mean, a relatively decent time to contact.
Yes.
The SDA is in the other conversation. There's only 3 people outside of conversations. There's the contact. 1, 2, 3, 4 low lights, and then a single highlight goes the way of twin.
You make a very good distinction there. It's not just about the number of low lights in gallery. The SDA in a relatively full conversation on the other side of the map. That is arguably as important. When you factor that in with the fact that 4 or 5 low lights are pretty standard on gallery, I would say that's a pretty good banana bread.
I would say absolutely a great banana bread. Flirt comes out 65%, meaning that we have to hit a green action test if we want to finish it with 3 flirts.
This is pretty good mission progress. Gives himself a lot of options here late in this game.
It's going to be our inspects now completed. There is a AI at the statue, which will block one, so hopefully Salmon finishes up very shortly and pops it down so we can finish our missions. Oh, in fact, I'm bad at counting. I did this last night after I came back from work in a different country. I essentially credited 5 inspects to a spy rather than the 3 required.
Yes. I like his timing there, by the way. That's just early enough with about a minute 30
Oh, the
left
shakes.
that he's not... he's shaking his camera about the flirt. I like the timing with that inspect there. 130, not necessarily going to get shot for a paranoid possibility of swap and block.
It also hasn't been highlighted as well by KCM, who I know thinks that highlighting statues is boring, but he's also the kind of sniper who has a very good idea of who on the map has what mission progress. So I'd
Yes.
assume that he is knowledgeable to the fact that Magician here is done with inspects, has a contact possibility as well. And at 30 seconds left into the game, you would assume Seduce is done. It's all about whether or not he thinks a bug has happened or any other mission.
Highlighting for statues is boring if you're someone like KCM, but if you're a mere mortal like me who needs the memory aid, necessity on some.
Here comes the bug attempt, but it fails as Kane. And
Really didn't
now
look like one though.
That's good. Gonna purloin right under the sniper cam. Oh, it's a white test. Oh no. Do we know who did it? Is the question. Here comes the shot. It's onto the wrong person.
Oh no.
I don't know if that's for statues or if that's for purloin.
Yeah. I think this is just
I
straight
think
up.
both.
Yeah. So Wheels was at statues at about 20 seconds.
Left it at what? 42 seconds? He was
Yeah,
looking at Wheels the entire time for that at that 10 second
Yeah, I don't
mark.
think he even saw the purloin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he definitely he left it about 1 second. So a couple things are happening there. Either he's thinking I kind of mistimed when the second inspect happened, or he just hears the beeping and without even looking at the statue says, "Oh, I guess it was a swap."
Yeah,
Just
you
pure
don't.
reaction.
Yeah, you don't know how much overtime you have there, so sometimes you just gotta just as soon as you hear the beeping, it's just pick someone, shoot.
Well, it's just interesting because Magician obviously it's the prompting of the overtime that did the shot. Anything he would have done,
Yes.
an obvious bug wouldn't have mattered because he's watching Wheels. He just had to do something to make the beeping start because the decision had been made.
Yep. All right, and with that, Magician goes up 2-0.
He can taste it. He can taste
Yeah.
that point or even that win potentially.
Yeah.
And up 2-0 on Gallery, which, picking Gallery late, he went 3-1 against me on it last week. So Magician, if he can hang in Diamond after the Hazard matches, might have a new strategy pick-wise next season.
Yeah, and we'll see. And I hope
Against KCM as well.
Yeah, we'll see against KCM, who really needs a point in this set. See if he can come back in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And against KCM on a map, KCM tends to favor, I think, as well, is what you might have been referencing there.
A lot of people banned Gallery against KCM. It's one of his newfound successes. KCM's on 9 points in Gallery, and Bloom's on 8 with the head-to-head matchup in favor of KCM. All he needs is a tie party, and he will lock himself out of the potential of having to play a Hazard match.
And yeah, that's, again, you have to say it over and over again to get into KCM fighting off a Hazard match, and it's not because he's played badly.
It's really partly because Magician has been playing badly.
Oh, right. So it's because at Diamond we have someone who hasn't been losing, and at the top, and at the bottom someone who hasn't been winning, and it creates this weird disparity and pile up in the middle.
Yeah, that makes everyone in the middle points matter so much more. Magician, though, every match he's played has been close. There's not really been any blowouts. Microfilm transfer, white action test at the green bookshelf. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
That's a strange low light.
I have to imagine that's unintentional. It's just a sliver of hat sticking out there. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would low light there. So at the same time he low lit Queen, he high lit Alice.
Yeah, well, I will say that it's become sort of legend here in Diamond. Magician, a lot of problems with mouse precision. Very low AT rate, very high number of red action tests as well. And just in general, when you look at the highlights and the lowlights coming off, they seem a little sluggish and deliberate, which gives people other opportunities. So I'm inclined to think that this is just a little problem with micro and precision.
Well, all the shaking has worn out his mouse.
Yes, all the shaking has worn out his mouse because every time he hits a red test or gets at 99% or something, shakes the camera in frustration.
KCM hit a green purloin that was collected by Pearls, takes the guest list, picks up a highlight. KCM still low lit. Here comes the second action test, another white test, but he's low lit on that blue side of the bookshelf and not being looked at whatsoever by Magician.
Yeah, unless he does something very, very obvious. At this point, it's always interesting because as a caster, you want to switch from talking about what the sniper's seeing to talking about what the spy is doing, because it's really just about whether or not they're going to complete their missions. And with that bug, I think it's pretty much a fait accompli that they will.
Yeah.
Are
no,
we going to
there's
get a
almost
swap
no
next?
I hope not. That would be one of the few things that could lose him this.
We've gotten all
That or
the other
time
hardtails.
unnecessary is what I would say. 44 seconds left though. KCM may not realize how little of a suspect he is, so he's going to add time. Also, one of the things on gallery that could lose you a game. There's literally 0 people who could have added time in that scenario. And look at this. Is this lowlights coming out? Oh, it is lowlights coming out. KCM's still a lowlight himself, so potentially gets away with it.
The thing that is remarkable about that, as you said, one of the only other things could lose him this game. Not only was he the only one who could have time added, Magician was actually zoomed out and looking at the whole map when it happened, was clearly just not expecting a timeout at all because a low light is the only one at Windows, so he's not watching for it. That could have saved him the game right there.
All we need to do is contact the double agent. We're staring down Rocker, hoping 34% on the flirt. This is actually a really good spot to do it at the blue bookshelf because we guarantee one of two things. The seduction target will walk away and we know where they're going to go to later on in the game. But two, the fact that, you know, they will be breaking the timer. In fact, KCM decides to do it for us. So that's going to be a flirt at bookshelves, 85% blue book in hand. And now we're just watching Seek, hoping he doesn't go to a statue himself. At the other side of the conversation, a flirt will win us the game. Here comes the mission win countdown. There's no inkling of a shot from Magician. That's going to be KCM finding a spy. Oh, okay, never mind. There is an inkling.
There was a
Great
shot.
timing, wrong person.
Yes. Let's see what he was doing. Statue. Yep.
Went to statues at the end.
And the sneaky statue as well.
Of course.
He went statue to statue as well, which I don't think it's a thing KCM will do very often, but it is definitely a mission
lots of spies
right there.
do.
Right. So that game obviously lost with, you know, the erroneous low light, be it mistake or aggression. I'm going to lean towards mistake. But a very salvageable game there at the end if he catches the time ad. That is one of the few things, because KCM didn't make enough flirt progress, he left himself wide open with needing to do that to flirt. And it worked out.
A mistake. He was going to low light Morgan for being the double agent. And if you look at the way the arrows line up,
yes,
the green arrow
right
and the
there.
yellow arrow.
Oh, here,
she may have actually.
Let me move back to that game just so.
Yeah, you're right. They're almost right there. Because otherwise, you have no reason to do that. If anything, some snipers will highlight for anyone on that side of green bookshelf because the conversation gives them essentially a free microfilm sometimes. So it's a totally counterintuitive low light. Has to be a mistake. Absolutely. That's just really unfortunate, but it is part of the game. That the mouse precision issue is something that has dogged him.
As like a whole minute later, he then realizes that the double agent isn't low lit, and then chucks the low light towards Kane there. At that point, I think he probably doesn't really think to himself that he needs to change that low light.
That's really unfortunate. The time ad, that was it. That was his one chance to salvage that game, and instead gives it right back to him.
That was unfortunate. Yeah, it's a good thing he's my sniper style. If I get an accidental low light, I typically keep them.
That's
good
true.
to know.
Mental notes. Doesn't change the lights of cast, so he can't accidentally low light.
Yeah, I don't low light cast or anything. Yeah. But yeah, I have accidentally highlight or low lit the spy. It's fun.
Kletos daring anyone in Platinum listening to try to take advantage of any of this. Just say, come
well,
out,
that one's a tough one, though. I mean, it's hard to like purposefully get accidentally low lit.
Sure.
But good luck with y'all. And
good luck.
Let's see in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And boy, Magician was just so close potentially to going up 3-0, and at that point, anything other than a total lapse would get him that coveted point. And now KCM's back in the match.
Do have to wonder how KCM's feeling about it all as well. It's a game that's 100% winnable. You know, so many tells were there, and you dished out an accidental low light. Now, some people will just water off a duck's back. You know, silly mistake. Definitely can win this still. Others might find their mental game failing. We'll have to see how Magician reacts.
Yeah, it's been 2 years of just kind of getting kicked around in Diamond, coming through when it matters. You know, to his credit, and certainly competitive in almost all. But if you're a Magician, at some point, you just got to get a little worn out with this.
Over to statues. Going to start our inspecting process here. Just a single inspect so far. We're going to go for the second one as well. 2 cycles at the statue. Zoom in from KCM, so he knows 100% that statue is, in fact, the Venus statue, as well as the fact that Irish was there.
And the seduction target is outside, and you really hate that. Do you make the decision to try to chase them, knowing that they could do this, that they could go to windows and come right back inside? Magician's going to wait it out instead.
We're looking for a bug potentially, maybe. You can always set yourself up for bugs on gallery, just putting yourself in positions that you know that the ambassador will have to walk. But the fact that the ambassador is alone in that conversation means that she won't be moving anytime soon.
This is probably literally the one spot on the map you didn't want your seduction target to go to meaningless statues that you don't have to go to, but it'll still be your second visit if KCM isn't totally on it.
Such a good bug attempt given over to Magician. The amount of obstruction provided by Toby and other characters would have meant that the hand was completely invisible and KCM would rely on a lean. Instead goes for the purloin and looks like KCM staring him down because the shot comes out immediately.
Yeah, he got a good look at that fade. From that angle, from that side of the conversation, there's really no mistaking it. It can be very suspicious to be in the back of that conversation, but the upside is that when a purloin goes off, very often a sniper just has literally no way of seeing the fade and has to make a guess. Magician making it all too easy for him.
Yeah. Real simple, just very visible purloin. And KCM manages to tie it up and brings it into his pick, balcony. That's potentially a rough spot for Magician to be in.
Yeah, if you believe there's such a thing as momentum, it's certainly not on your side.
One thing that myself and Warning Track have observed is that Magician's action test rate's really rough on balcony. Doesn't often finish seduce with much time to spare and tends to lean into the most suspicious of characters as well. I would expect a small man.
Yep.
All right, we'll see. We'll see if that rings true. We got KCM as Duke here. Nothing real suspicious there except for Taft as ambassador. We'll see if he decides to bug. And 3, 2, 1, playing it.
KCM as Duke, as he was in that very, very exciting game. Kaylee with the last second bug into the shot, burned into my memory forever. Is probably one of the more exciting games we've ever cast. Probably realized from that that in convo bug from this character, pretty powerful.
Yeah, Duke's standing bug is one of the strongest in the game. Due to the fact that one of his arms is constantly down by his side, and so it's not suspicious when you see his arm down by his side. That's just a default position.
Yep.
Meaning that you can sometimes find bugs with that right arm very nicely. We do actually add time, a green test at the beginning of the game, then move into conversation and flirt, decent range. However, that picks us up a highlight against Magician, so not exactly what you want as KCM.
And the time ad may be a little less valuable. A lot of people, that's going to give them more time to pair flirts and think people could be done. But Magician's bigger weakness on balcony is phantoming bugs and shooting for them.
Oh, wow, look at that. We actually got a neutral light for going to conversation with 2 other people. Seems a little bit of a counterproductive thing because 100% you could have flirted with one of the 2 of them.
Yeah, and this is standard from KCM on balcony. He will absolutely spend the first 30 seconds moving around, idling. If he's across from his seduction target, he will very often red flirt them to windows. He doesn't like doing the obvious things. He will commit to that idle on balcony, almost standard, to the point where someone being active early on balcony, if I'm playing against KCM, I'd consider them less suspicious.
Here comes the contact of the double agent. It's a white test. We're talking through it. Might just be enough to knock us back up to a highlight. Also, we're at the point in the game where muscle memory is saying we have to shoot, and we do. If you consider 45 seconds was added, you'd be minus 103.45. What does that leave us at? 18 seconds left on the clock. That's the time you take shots on balcony.
Yeah, I mean, the white test gave him a chance at sort of a Hail Mary, aggressive shot, but it would have been the right one, as it turns out. I think that neutral light for the window flirt, it just completely changes things. KCM style there on balcony just works all too well against Magician here.
All right, with that, KCM is up 1. He's inching his way closer to that 1 or 2 points that he needs to not be in a hazard match. See,
he's changing the script on us, Track, playing buns.
Yeah. Shocking. Anytime he's not Smallman, I guess, and he's rewarded by being crammed up against the ambassador immediately.
Yep, and here he goes. He's gonna bug right in the first 2 seconds. I promise you. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
He shouldn't though. He resists. AI takes control from him in a way and says, "Do not do this. Play a standard game."
I want a refund, please,
Yeah.
Cletus.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was tempting. It was tempting, and he does bug on balcony, so it's not surprising. It would not be surprising to see him do that. The thing about KCM is he's a very patient sniper on balcony, and in 90% of games that works very well for him. But it does mean that if you can hit those action tests, you're almost always going to win. The thing is, with Magician, there's just so little chance of that.
Pick up a first flirt, 29%, join the conversation, and look at the highlights that have come out of KCM. These are the 4 people that KCM believes at this moment are more suspicious than the rest. Of course, these highlights can be a little bit... Oh, you think it's something else, actually?
Well, maybe. It could just be some early talkers. I wonder if all Phantom...
I also wonder if maybe there was a consideration that there was too many people talking in the conversation at once, or the opposite, no one talking in the conversation at once. I know KCM definitely throws highlights for that.
I think it's definitely one of those two things. And it's just an easy thing to not be sure about, especially when you're looking at people moving, and then you look at the conversation a couple seconds and don't see anything, and you think, well, did the activity stop right when I looked, or was it going on a second beforehand? Because there's a big difference.
It can all be caused by an AI taking a drink when it's their time to talk. It's very much, you'll see these little pauses in conversation. We have contacted. All we need now is a seduce, and we would want it to be green at this range, and we would win the game off of that alone.
Magician needs a green to win. That's not the position you want to be in given that AT rate, but this is a big, big moment for him.
Here it comes. Flirt with the seduction target. 16 seconds, so we are basically relying on a shot from KCM or a green flirt. 10 seconds, we're going to begin it. It is a green!
Wow.
Magician now with a chance to pull it out of the bag here. 6 seconds left. The shot being lined up for overtime, but will a shot even come out? As the question doesn't look likely. Magician finds a spy on balcony.
Needing a green, and as you said, banking on it. Nowhere near the ambassador. No hope of getting away with a crash bug. Sorry, it only works for Matt people. He was either going to be hit that green or hope KCM shoots someone. And as I mentioned earlier, he's a very patient sniper on balcony. So that basically was green to win. And he did. He really came through. Magician, just like with the hazard matches, really clutch when it matters.
So that's I'm looking back at this conversation before those 4 highlights did come through. Queen finishes her talk animation. Dress goes into one. And the highlights then come out very shortly afterwards. It seems like it was just a slight pause in conversation before the next person takes the talk after red dress. But I think you're right, Warning Track. Possibly a case of you look at the conversation whilst no one's talking, you go, how long has that been going on for?
Yeah, and you really don't know, and you kind of have to make a judgment. And they are very fluid highlights anyway, so certainly very reasonable. But in that case, maybe just enough, because he wasn't one of those 4 people, just enough to kind of let him get away with that white banana bread. By the way, his white banana bread talk animation sort of obscured by the character next to him, I think, a little bit, and that just there's no suspicion on him when he goes into that last flirt.
All right. Anyway, with that, we're on to the KCM second go on balcony. Once again, he is Duke.
Interesting.
I'm guessing that's just coincidence, but also once again, Taft is the ambassador. So I don't know. I don't know, KCM. I think we see your games.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
What did we say earlier tonight? 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a choice.
Yeah. I mean, Taft as ambassador, not so much a coincidence. That's a big choice, especially on balcony. I mean, what is it? What a 1 in 6 chance that you shoot the right character straight off the bat in balcony, and if KCM Duke, let's say 50% of the time, then the magicians who are the mathematicians will
the
tell you.
Magician.
That,
Taft, as you say, a big choice in more ways than one.
Yeah. All right. So KCM, 49% on the flirt, jumps into the return of briefcase, doing some cheeky stuff by canceling our sip like an AI would when they walk away from a return of the briefcase. Here comes a contact, a white test as Duke. Very obvious because you put your hand up to your mouth, say, hey, look, I'm talking about something very serious.
You got to project when you do that white banana bread.
And that's actually just a shot. Wow.
Man.
I think Magician may be thinking exact same thing that we did. This is
Yeah.
a choice.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I'm a little worried about that phantom bug. So if you look at the very beginning of this game, when he talks, he's next to the Amba. Salmon is blocking the back of the spy. And the beginning of his talk animation kind of leans to the left a little bit. And I mentioned earlier, Magician phantoms those bugs a lot on balcony. I sympathize because I do too.
So you're saying if you're playing against Magician on balcony, don't stand next to the ambassador?
Don't even give him an opportunity. We the first game we played, I think, all season. I think it might have been my first SEL game in Diamond. Actually, I was Irish, and I was very surprised when I got shot. And the reason, apparently, is that I just walked behind the ambassador, and he was worried I'd bugged. I hadn't, but it won him the game. I think in this case, he was by the ambassador twice in the beginning, in particular, kind of a rush bug it looked like, and just shot so quickly there. I really think that might have been
highlight as well. Given to him after he leaves the conversation, after that interaction with the ambassador. So I think you're spot on there. Phantom bug into a contact. That's the second time actually that we've seen that tonight. But sometimes it wins you games on balcony.
Yeah, balcony, the vagaries of balcony, as I always put it.
All right, and anyway, we're on to Magician once again, not small man.
Ooh, wow! Sound the alarm.
So, I mean, in the debrief that you had with Magician last week, I believe you told him that you feel like he has a tendency to play into suspicious characters. Is that correct?
Yeah. So after every second match this year, I found it very filling and interesting. As much as we all want to win, we like to advance the game meta and share information in this community. That's sort of our style. So after my second match with each person, I was rather free with the information about my notes. You know, here's what I was looking for, here's what I was discounting, and I told him, yeah, you pick small man a lot, and I think he knew, but I don't think he knew how much. Because if someone else is mentioning it to him, maybe it's a little more prominent than he'd realized. I don't know if that factored into it or not, but I'd like to think it did.
I know after that conversation, he watched me casting the game, and I said the exact same thing to him. You picked Storm in a ridiculous amount. So if two people tell you it, and then the next week you don't pick small man, I wonder if that's machine learning right there.
Yep.
Yeah, we said with characters, two's a coincidence. Let's say in this case, two people mentioning something, definitely not.
All right. Anyway, we'll see how this works out for him. 3, 2, 1, planet.
I think it's kind of natural that you're gonna pick suspicious characters a little more often than average, and that's okay. It just can't be too much more often.
Yeah, no, that's and it was a lot. I mean, I can pull up the stats whilst we watch this game.
I think it was something like 1 out of 3 at certain points. Yeah, it felt like something like that.
Definitely. And on balcony especially, it felt like it was almost up there above the 50% mark, which is far too much. I think of a tendency to lean into. Yeah, look at this small man. 1 in 3 games across his entire SCL season as small.
In the end of red.
There it is.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I didn't actually know the number. I was just spitballing based on my observations, but I'm glad to know it was so close.
Yep. So Magician picks up a flirt, 37%. So that must have been a green at range, and then the contact, which was white, I believe, but hasn't picked up a highlight. In fact, no one has a highlight just yet.
So clear decision here. Across from your seduction target, you're going to need 2 more. Do you red flirt them? Do you leave? Do you do nothing? They leave for you and go back to the same spot.
Yeah. Here comes the flirt. It's going to be another green test, 76%. I mean, it doesn't look like we're flirting with anyone at this range in the conversation, but we'll have to see what KCM thinks of it. Moving away after the talk and then jumping back into the conversation, I think it's enough to force a shot.
I think it might be. I think at this point, if you win this game, it's going to be with a wrong shot.
This position in conversation will be it's plenty good for a white flirt to finish us off. With 24 seconds, might be a good time to go for it. Here it comes.
Oh boy,
10
such a
seconds on the
suspicious
clock.
time to talk. Oh dear.
Here comes a flash.
Wow.
No shot.
Oh.
I was wrong. I really thought he was going to shoot for a talk there, and it looks like he very, very nearly did, and just could not quite bring himself to do it.
Wow.
Think,
so
you noticed a suspicious time. I think that because the talk started before or just as the 20-minute mark, 20-second mark, I should say. I actually think that's the best time to complete a flirt on this map.
So Magician ended up looks like winning KCM's pick. So it was good. It was a good choice not to ban
5-3.
Yeah,
That's unreal.
Yeah, 3-1 on balcony. I mentioned earlier, you want that variance if you think you're an underdog, and against KCM, you're probably an underdog. And lean into it, lean into the crazy of balcony a little bit, and it works for him. Obviously, both of those games barely won, but it works.
I mean, he relied on green tests a lot in that balcony set, and he hit a lot of them as well. So A
for
lot could
him.
be said about Magician's improvement this from previous games to this.
Yeah, I mean, so generally, the top spies are not relying on greens to win games, obviously, right? And KCM likes to say that all the time. He says you want to make a decision where you don't need the green to win. I think that's a good general principle. I think there are situations you're going to find yourself in where you need the green to win, and that's just the high risk, high reward strategy you got to go for. But as a general rule, I think it's a very solid thing. But that is only true if you are within like that 40 to 60% green AT range. If you fall outside of that, if you're hitting them consistently less than 50 or 40%, it's really going to make a big difference on something like Diamond, where the margins are so thin to begin with. So you see that when Magician just hits a relatively ordinary number of them, suddenly he's competitive again.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's the difference sometimes. It doesn't matter as much in other places, but here, just that little 5% difference is the difference between winless and competing.
All right, and with that, hopefully we got KCM as spy on the next map, which is Library. You're general again, back-to-back general, so we'll see how that goes.
I mean, General has one of the best walking bugs in the game, a relatively good standing bug. So
I don't know if that matters on Library when your goal is to do bugs when they're not even on the same side of the map. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
So anyway, see how KCM does in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, that's the way KCM likes to think too. He's like, I don't want it to matter, the timing, the action test, the character. I want it to be invisible.
Yeah, that's very true. Like a ghost.
A ghost.
KCM.
He is the ghost. Guys, please start calling him that. It's a great, cool nickname, and he's earned it.
I'm not sure if he would be too keen on it.
No, he wouldn't like it at all. But he would hate that.
So yeah, please do call him it.
Oh no. Oh dear, that low light, that aggressive low light. That is too much.
Is it aggressive or is it an accidental low light once more as the double agent passes past us?
Yeah, I mean, I have to
it's in the same second as you low light a double agent.
Maybe. If it is, that's a shocking mistake, given that it already happened once.
That BB though will pretty much cement the idea of the low light in his head. It's not accidental anymore. KCM is a ghost on Library and has so much time to complete his missions. With that BB split, he may just assume that especially on Gallery, he had no reason to believe he was low lit, but now he might feel like he is.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is that he was going to an empty conversation to idle on Library. If you are desperate for lowlights, I guess, but it's the first minute of the game, for crying out loud.
KCM just tried to pull a Kaylee, stopping behind the pillar or anywhere really to pull the bug, but book was in hand, so it wasn't possible.
No, just moving too fast, not keeping track of what you got in your hands. It's unfortunate. But with this low light, as you mentioned earlier, this is the key thing. Sometimes you do things that you think might get you a low light. You can suspect it and maybe test it. But in this case, there's really no reason for him to think it's happened. He was sticking out too. If he were not low lit, I think that would have been suspicious.
So that play there is not a crazy Kaylee. I would say that's a Piers type play. Definitely has popularized it in Platinum. Not to say that there aren't other people who stand behind pillars to do dirty tricks like that.
No, but Piers
failed.
Piers stands behind pillars so much he probably owes rent for the time he spent there.
I feel like it's every spy game. In fact, when I play Piers, I actually every time I move past a pillar, I look down at my actions, my character bar, to see if anyone highlights up green that shouldn't be there, just to check.
Just to
do a
check.
little wiggle around it.
It's like looking beneath. It's looking underneath your bed before you go.
Ooh.
Oh wow! Big shot comes through.
It was I assume the Purloin.
Contact. Yeah, it was the person who took the guest list there.
Yep,
that's so unfortunate. We run it back to the low light. You can just tell, based on the sniper cam, that it's accidental. Wait, is it? It feels like it's accidental because he actually.
But it's two distinct clicks. It's two distinct clicks.
And then a movement in between. It's so strange.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But the fact that there's two distinct clicks and, as you say, a movement, a sniper move, we'll call it, for you football fans, makes me think it might actually have been deliberate. He might just be aggressive. He might just be desperate for it. He might just say, I really need every advantage I can get, and this one's not doing anything. The thing is, that's a much better thing to do halfway through the game, potentially, than early on. Idling early on, especially against KCM, who will deliberately idle, I would say, at the beginning of the majority of his spy games on any map. I think makes it very suspect. I hope it's a misclick because that's much more understandable. What I do want to talk about briefly, though, is that he goes for the purloin, which is actually one of the few things that might have saved this game for Magician, because pretty much the only way you're going to catch the spy at this point is a clear white purloin in your face, where this fade is unmistakable, even if it's coming from a low light. He hits the green, but if he doesn't, I still think Magician could have pulled that out.
There's just a lot of things there. So like, it makes you wonder, because based on the way the Magician low lighted after the BB, whether or not KCM would have just been hard low lit after that anyway. But yeah, it's and you say you need every advantage against KCM possible. You're actually up 5-3 in this series on your map pick. I feel like it's not the time you go for desperation plays.
And speaking of which, up 5-3 and now 5-4, and you've lost 2 different sniper games to possibly accidental lowlights. Think of the position he could be in right now.
Yeah, not great mentally.
It's tough.
Yep, and but he has Papa Danger, so this could be the start of his big comeback. 3, 2, 1, Planet.
Well, remember, he's still playing. One win here gets him at least a tie, gets him that point.
Yep.
Holy. First of the season.
Yes, and he's got 3 chances at it.
And
he had
last.
4. Yeah. He had 4, but now he's still got 3. So solid game from him at any point here, even a sniper game, can get him that point.
Let's see how this one does unravel. Whether the cookie is tasty or crumbles. Into the conversation with the seduction target here. Going to look for our flirt. It is going to be a 34% to start us off.
I think I'll start saying that. How about how the cookie unravels? Let's just mix our metaphors. Let's just...
I mean, I said, let's see how this unravels and then went into the cookie.
Yeah, a whole new metaphor.
They're separate. Whole new metaphor.
Reset the metaphors.
Yes.
Back-to-back metaphors. I happen to like crumbly cookies personally, so...
Non-tea. I can tell you that's not a good idea. Transfer the microfilm, white test, at a bookshelf, and then we instantly snap back to our ambassador, and then I don't think he saw it. unless we're doing the classic, I saw it, and now I'm going to do the I'm looking at you, but I'm not really looking at you movement.
Or the in-between. Did I see that? I think I might have seen that. Could be that too. It's really no way to tell from the sniper movement right now.
Conversation with the double agent here, and the ambassador. Contact available for Magician if he does want to go for it. Whole minute and a half has passed, and we have only got 2 pieces of mission progress. Not a single mission completion just yet. Here's the real banana bread. It is going to be a white contact of the double agent. So we're talking. Low lights coming through for KCM. Hits 3 at bookshelves, a 4th. Any more would potentially be risky, and he actually does go for morphs. A couple of people at windows. So 5 in total, and 1 reverted back to neutral.
Yeah, I think it's always really interesting what people do with those sort of lowlights. There are a lot of lowlights on Snap, and they're probably hard lowlights, but you can't discount a BB split. Do you take those or not? KCM decides to take them. And why not? Against someone with an AT rate like this, why not assume white?
I actually think in that scenario, he may have reverted his choice. That was a triple inspect and potential statue slam from Magician, trying to get away as quickly as possible, so the laser never saw him. Another snap to the spy as well, and then a very strange path next to a non-cast member. Could look like a flirt to Mr. KCM. Another white test microfilm right on the laser. KCM was expecting it, and the shot comes through.
Well, even if he wasn't, check this out. He's right next to the ambassador. And on the other side is Toby. So you have nothing competing for your attention right here. In fact, let me go one step further. I'm looking around now in interactive sniper cam. No one at statues either. So everything is happening in the middle of this screen right there. It's a really, really bad time to go for Mike.
And I mean, Kletos, if you switch it over to sniper cam as the white microfilm happens, we get a patented Magician camera shake as the shot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They had there was also a Magician shake on the first transfer microfilm.
Yeah. There it is. So I mentioned earlier that KCM in particular says don't make a decision based on whether or not you can get a green, right? Make it so that a white would still be okay. This is a great example of that, actually. Maybe he gets away with a green, but there's nothing to look at there. Everything is happening in the middle of the map. So, you absolutely need the green. Not a good decision. Not a good decision.
Not a good decision. Not a great place to microfilm, and 100% punished.
All right. Anyway, it is now tied up at 5-5.
Oh no! And Magician feels the point slipping away. KCM though, KCM going to be just as tight here.
Yeah,
because
he needs
still
this.
needs that one.
Needs this point as much as Magician. Well, I mean, I guess Magician just needs it just for
Yeah,
just to not
edification,
finish with
psychological.
0.
Yeah, not finished with 0. Certainly, KCM really needs it. And just who's it going to be, right? Who's Magician going to take a point off of? You don't want it to be you. You don't want to be the one who is left without a chair when the music stops. And so the pressure's on for both of them, really, heading into Modern.
Yep. All right. And anyway, we got Plane Twin again. I mean, and I think this is only the second time we've seen him in this this cast. So maybe Daffy's
interesting. Let's analyze that. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Anyway, let's see how he does in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I love that musical chairs metaphor right there. Warning track. Only 90 kids will get this. Oh, time ad double. Yeah. Does it go for the third? No.
I am dating myself a little bit then there, aren't I? Yeah, I don't think people play musical chairs anymore.
I know what that
means. Good on you. I feel a little better
then. But yeah. KCM here, 2 time ads at the start of the game on Modern, looking to give himself a bit of extra time to play with. I mean, I've talked to different people, Noob, totally about this, and it's like, why go for 1 time ad when you can go for 3? It's just
faultless logic.
If they're gonna catch a time ad, they're gonna catch a time ad. But if they're not gonna catch a time ad, then you should have done 3. So
sure, I find
in the middle.
With that. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of dating myself, by the way, I wonder how many young spies and snipers wonder themselves, why do they call this guy Taft? Who is that? A little before most of our time.
Non-Americans as well.
Yeah, non-Americans in particular. Not one of our better known. He's most famous actually for getting stuck in a bathtub. Actually, that is the most famous piece of Taft trivia. Not a joke.
I think I called him Teddy. So showing my ability to know American culture.
Yeah.
Not history. Not
Look,
culture.
a mustachioed president. That's close enough.
Yeah, exactly. KCM, green book in hand. Most likely to transfer this into a different colored bookshelf, be it the blue or red, to complete a mission. He's staring down Alice and doesn't want to go to bar to flirt because that's a big hard tell to an observant sniper. But he really does want to hit a flirt at some point.
I'll be a little curious as to whether or not KCM puts this book back in a different place or puts it back and then microfilms. I think that whether or not he does one or the other is going to depend on how much he's crediting the sniper. I think against Magician, he's more likely to slam it back in a different shelf.
Oh my gosh, going for a bug across conversation right in front of the sniper as well. Now at window pad. That was very blatantly obvious, but it seems like there was just enough going on the far right side of the map that Magician did not trigger to it.
And it wasn't really visible.
3 at a bookshelf. 3 at a bookshelf with the one pad that people would argue is not possible at all. I think it is possible, theoretically. And we slam it in there. That's going to be the microfilm. That's going to be a big fat highlight to Mr. KCM as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. And that I feel like that could save the game for Magician because it really looked like KCM had been getting away with a lot this game. The time ads, the bug, possibly the microfilm, and that green flirt too, brutal potentially. But I think that highlight could save Magician.
As far as the spacing was concerned, it was definitely fine. Here comes the contact out of KCM. This might be enough to pull the shot if you believe that was a microfilm transfer, and it is. Look at that, straight on in. KCM gets shot, and Magician has earned his first point.
There it is. All right, if you have any confetti lying around, go ahead and throw it in the air. Magician is going to be at least 0-9-1 for the second consecutive season, and more importantly, putting the pressure on KCM here. Needs this win, a sniper game on Modern, to avoid the hazard match. Could still avoid it anyway, depending on what happens with a remaining match. But a point makes him safe for sure, mathematically. Yeah, pressure game.
All right, we'll find out. Ooh, Magician has Papa Danger once again. See if he actually goes for a cane bug. Is this his 3rd time as Papa Danger?
I think you're right.
he's moved away from small.
Yeah.
So after the Week 10 match, the'll be another conversation. And no, you pick Camelot. This is going to end. This is going to end with him picking Walt every single game, right? That's how this ends.
Yeah. before our conversation with him, I don't think he's picked Kane whatsoever this season. So he's gone, what character have I not played? Oh, Kane, cool. Picked him three
There we
times.
go.
All right. Anyway,
Buzz
we'll
was
see how
also
this
a character
goes.
he's not picked as well. Holy moly.
Well, anyway, actually,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, he's been Papa Danger 3 times, but he hasn't bugged with them yet. So we'll see. He did try in the gallery game,
Okay.
Yes, that's
but it didn't take. Anyway, here we go. Final match either way in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Picking Papa Danger and never trying to bug is like renting a Ferrari and never going above 40 miles.
Into a conversation here. 34% flirt. Magician has earned his first point in SCL4 by getting 6 points in this series. It's a best of 12, which means that even if he loses this game, it will be a tie. Now, for KCM, he is currently a point above Bloom, meaning that if he is able to win this sniper game, he will go up to 10 points. And even if Bloom beats Canadian Bacon due to tiebreaker rules and KCM's double victory over Bloom in this season, Bloom will be ranked lower. And so that's the tiebreaker scenario. If you want to be in control of your outcome, it's better to win a game here than cheer on Canadian Bacon in weeks to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a little worried right now that Magician is so happy with his point, content with the tie, that he might not try to get a lot done here. Look at that bar rush. Oh, my.
That's a lot of people at bar. Yeah, okay. KCM will be looking towards it, but when there's so many people at bar like that, that's when you go for tells. That's when you look for something else. Magician, what will he do? Moving over towards the left side of the map where, of course, the bar is situated onto a window pad. We've got 91% of our flirt done, and so there's an argument to be made that you might want to add time. He does check his watch, but no time is added. Instead, just an innocent watch check. And here we go, into the bar to potentially pick up a delegate.
Yeah, and you really need to have a rough idea of who is there. At least be near one of them when you send them off.
Here comes Toby to offer us a glass of wine. Delegate option is selected.
For those of you looking for headcanon, the list, why would you have a guest list there? Well, it's to keep track of all their idiosyncratic drink choices. You'll notice they all have different drinks at this party. That's how Toby knows. He's a fine waiter, but he's smart enough to write it down.
I always assumed it was because Damon's too incompetent to be trusted with the guest list.
What we've generally settled on is that Damon is terrible at his job and Toby's really good, because I think people have an affinity for Toby for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, look, Till, she has 100% gin of some sort in her hand. Potentially a fine scotch or rum for Mr. Walt there, or Mr. A. And for the Magician, it's a glass of wine, whether it be white or red. I guess Canon doesn't quite tell us. That was a red flirt onto... Wait, was it? Oh, it was a delegate onto orange dress. That's why she slammed the green book into the bookshelf. Very obvious when that happens, but the expire does come through for the delegates, so she won't take the guest list. However, a tell has been given to the sniper that either orange dress is the spy himself, or
banana bread.
The spy has influenced something here. Low light comes through. That's going to at least give us the opportunity to know that orange dress isn't the spy, and if we saw that, then we now know that the spy has influenced her.
You have to go back to bar. You're not going to induce a shot without even having the guest list gone. It's just not going to happen here.
There may be some light frustration out of Magician.
Yes, lots of spinning. I think he's potentially ready to time out, but we've got an opportunity to bug the ambassador here at the green bookshelf. Let's see how he does play this one, whether it's cool and collected or whether it's a rush of missions, a flurry, you could say. Lining up towards a bar means that we may just take the guest list immediately and hope that
but it's under
KCM
10 seconds.
Shoots.
It's under 10 seconds.
We're actually just we didn't do it.
Well,
Magician is frustrated.
Even
He's
less
content
sense.
with a tie, and he's going to time out.
And he's going to make us all dizzy.
Yeah, he's going to tie out, if you will. Clearly, not trying to finish there. There are a few things you can do there. I really don't think Casey is going to shoot anyway. I don't think you're going to bait a shot, but you have to give yourself a chance, which means two things have to happen. One, a banana bread has to go off, and it better be decent. And the other, you have to delegate or purloin or something. At the minimum, you have to pull in there at the end, and you have to do it before 10 seconds. It was going to be at 8 seconds anyway. It just doesn't make sense. There was no path there. Even the Hail Mary of trying to get him to shoot when he's a very patient sniper. So I questioned the decision at all, but the execution just didn't line up at all.
And still no bug out of Papa Danger.
Still no bug. Still no bug. The Ferrari stays in the garage pretty much the whole time.
Yep.
But let's give him some credit here. Magician not only tied and got his point against, KCM of all people, but gave away potentially a couple games with those accidental lowlights. You have to actually be impressed with Magician because he's hung around in Diamond despite those action tests, which means that his play otherwise must be that much better that he hasn't gotten bumped down.
Yeah, no, very sure. And so Magician will be guaranteed to be in the hazard match when they do get played against the Platinum folk. And with the tie party that does come through, that means that unfortunately for Bloom, he will be joining Magician in fighting for their chance in Diamond.
Bloom has one more game to play, but he has no way out. He will have, if he wins his next game, he'll have the same score as both KCM currently and Warning Track, not counting Warning Track's next game.
Yep.
But unfortunately, he'll lose in our tiebreaker rules, even if he...
Yeah. Right. He'll lose the first tiebreak to KCM, which is head-to-head.
Yeah, and the second one to you.
The second one to me. The first tie, we split our matches, so that's non-dispositive. The second tiebreaker then would be match wins, which he can't get more than 4, and I have 5. So unfortunately, even though we've all performed about the same, and I would say in terms of ability and performance and all that, Bloom is the odd man.
Unfortunately, someone has to be in the bottom 2 of Diamond.
Well, when people did their predictions before this Diamond season, pretty much everything gold and up, they qualified every prediction at the beginning of each round and said, somebody's got to go at the bottom, right? It doesn't make sense. All these players seem too good for it, but it's going to happen to somebody. Unfortunately for Bloom, that somebody is him. This locks in every spot in Diamond, though, other than second and third. It's either going to be Bacon or myself in one or the other of those, depending on how our matches play out next week. So we don't know who the last finalist is, but first, fourth, and fifth all locked down now.
Yep. Yeah, anyway, those were some fantastic games. We got and we got 3 more fantastic games coming tomorrow.
Yep, some of those to be determined because a lot of matches are going to be played in the next 24 hours or so.
Yep.
We should at least by the end of tomorrow know who is the top 2 in Challenger. Speaking of Challenger, actually, probably worth noting, if you are in Challenger and you want to continue playing in SCL, after Challenger, for those who aren't aware, there is a single elimination seeded tournament that you have to opt into. Catnip should have sent you a message on Discord, so go check your inbox for that if you haven't already opted in towards her. And if you haven't received a message and you are in Challenger and you do want to play in the single elimination tournament, then send her a message as well, because that will also give you a shot at promoting out of Challenger based on your results in that single elim.
Yeah, the top 2 may get auto-promoted, but we have a tournament to give away at least a couple more spots. There will probably be other promotion opportunities between now and the next SCL season. Don't quote me, nothing's formal or official, but we are very cognizant here of the rush of challengers and how good y'all have gotten so quickly to our everlasting frustration. So there might be other opportunities, but this is one of the things that will guarantee you promotion if you can make it into this tournament and do well. So as Dowsy said, please message Catnip right away and make sure you're in there.
All right. Anyway, that's our cast for today. Thank you, Warning Track and Dowsy, for stepping in to cast.
It's always a pleasure. Great to work alongside you gentlemen as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Great time. Thank you for hosting, Kletos. Thank you for casting Dowsy. And thank you to the players. As always, I have to thank the players for letting us pick them apart so critically. We know how hard it is. We admire you guys putting yourselves out there and giving us such great games to cast every single week.
All right. Thank you all. That's it. And goodbye.
Thank you.